What's up, Badger Nation? Hold on to your hats because we're about to unleash a ferocious classic episode from the deep, dark archives of the PPC Den podcast. This episode is guaranteed to set your Amazon PPC instincts on fire. Get ready to navigate the chaos, madness, and mayhem of Amazon advertising and unleash your inner badger.
What's going on, Badger Nation? Welcome to the world's first and longest running show all about Amazon advertising to make your Amazon PPC life a little bit easier and a little bit more profitable. We're going to jump in today with one of my favorite people that we have on the show, Mansour, and we're going to be talking about forecasting, how to move from, I'm willing to spend any amount at a particular ACOS, to what will it take to get us here? What can we expect in the upcoming month based off previous months? The topic is forecasting. I absolutely love it. We're going to touch on how to use the Product Opportunity Explorer to forecast and touch on how to use category insights to forecast. So I absolutely love this episode. Mansour, is always an absolute pleasure. Let's jump in.
I've launched campaigns and picked keywords. I've got my bids, set placements too, and bad mistakes. I've made a few. I've had my share of wrong keywords, but I've got through. We are the PPC Den, my friend.
Mansour, welcome back to the show. It's so great to have you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm very excited to be back here.
Yes. How has your Amazon advertising life been over the last couple months, maybe 6 months since we last talked?
Busier and busier.
Busier and busier.
And it's interesting that how, as you are working more and more on advertising, you realize that how much you don't know. Especially when that they keep releasing new things and it gets more complex. So you think, okay, I'm good at it, but you move forward and you're like, oh shoot, I don't know this. I gotta learn this. I gotta learn that. So it's a process of learning.
I've said it before.
But I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I've said it before on the show. I think it's such the niche of e-commerce marketing, the niche of Amazon marketing. The Dunning-Kruger effect is real in the sense of when you first get started and you first start, like day one, you know that you don't know a lot of stuff. And then you learn a couple things. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you feel like you have a good lay of the land. And then the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know. The more you realize, wow, this pool is really deep. Wow, this thing goes on for a while. There's so many tools. I know that for a fact, if you put those LinkedIn posts that are follow this person, every single person on that list. And so many times you and I are listed on those lists. Every single one of us, there's mountains of stuff we don't know. And that's part of what I think, if anyone out there is man, how do I take it to the next level? Always remember there's a mountain of stuff that you don't know. And the goal should not be to try to, get to a feeling where you feel complete, but actually get to the feeling where it's I cannot stop learning. I always have to continue learning because there's a mountain of stuff that even if I conquer that mountain, there's going to be another mountain to go and learn.
Yeah, that is well said. That's well said. And also for me, it's I feel like it shouldn't be I have to learn it. I enjoy learning it.
Right.
I'm okay, this is new. Let's get into AMC, like AMC is a very complex topic.
Yeah.
There are things there that like any information and data you want from advertising, you can get from there. And then you get into it, you're like, oh shoot, there are so many insights I could get from AMC. And it is complex because there's a query, the data, getting data out of AMC is not as simple as just exporting a report. So you have to dive deep and understand. Like it's a process that you should enjoy it. If you look at that way, you're gonna really learn faster and be happy with what you're doing.
And I don't know about you, but I really enjoy it from a efficiency and optimization perspective, because it's like the way that we used to do keyword research or whatever changed over time. And I'm always trying to think like, what is the faster, better way to do this thing? Like, how do I get more efficient and more effective at this? So working in a digital landscape like we do, like you never stop doing that. It's like, I get to feel the progressive challenge of how do I do more in less time? How do I do it more effectively? Every year of my entire career. It's really cool.
100%.
Today, we're going to be talking about a topic which I find really interesting. Everyone I know, we just talked about how there's so much that we don't know. And this topic is about trying to add some certainty ingredients to the Amazon PPC stew, in the sense of, we've done X over the last 12 months. Tell me what next quarter will be. The topic of forecasting. Everybody hates the weatherman when they get it wrong, when they say it's going to rain and it's not, and when they say it's going to be sunny and it rains on us. Forecasting. So this degree of certainty, trying to figure out what comes next for us. How do you define forecasting yourself in an Amazon marketing mindset? Like, how do you define it in this arena?
So this is a great topic that we have lately seen more brands coming to us and asking forecasts as a percent. It's mostly bigger brands, but I think it is not only for bigger brands, even smaller brands, they have to do forecasting. And the way I see it is that if you don't know where you are going, let's say you start the new year and you want to put your budget, how much budget you are going to put in? You are just going to go as it comes. You are going to increase or decrease budget. You have to have a goal. The way I see the forecast is that, what is my goal? Where I am going to be in next year, in next quarter, and maybe next year is very long term for forecasting on Amazon. We usually do annually, but we go down. Our focus mainly is in quarterly, as you mentioned. But the goal is that in my next quarter, how much I have to spend and what is that potential of total sales that I'm going to generate. So it's going to be our forecast. And based on that, we know each month how much we are spending. The second is that, are we hitting our targets or not? Otherwise, like if a brand just comes to us without any number, like they just give us like, let's go with 200K spent for this month. Where this is going to take you, what is going to happen? How much the market is spending? Like there is so much uncertainty that you don't understand what is happening. And there you are standing compared to your competitors. You're spending 200K. What if a brand that was getting less market share compared to you, they are spending 400K and they are going to pass you in terms of market share, right? There are so many things to look at, but the way simply I look at into forecasts is that understanding what is our direction. So we have these threshold on how to move forward.
Yeah, it's almost like asking, what do I need to spend in order to hit a particular target? And
Right.
it's or sort of like, if we stay on this course, where will we be? And I think that a lot of brands, that's a difficult question, because like what a brand wants to spend, what they should spend in order to accomplish a particular goal, there's a lot of high-powered decision making that needs to go into making this decision. So like, I would say there's a good mix of people. Some people say, I only want to, I will spend unlimited pending, a 25% ACoS. And that's not really forecasting, is it?
No, it's not forecasting. And I would say mostly the brand, because it's not forecasting because you are just looking at your own brand in isolation. And it is completely wrong because you might stay behind, as I mentioned, compared to the competitors. And mostly what is happening for smaller brands is that they have a goal of tacos. This is my tacos.
Yeah.
And they say, okay, this is how much I'm selling. This is my tacos or return on investment of advertising. That is my threshold, right? There are flaws to that as well, which we are going to talk about it. But yeah, I guess it's a very interesting topic that it's not being talked about enough, and it's becoming more and more important for all type of brands that are selling on Amazon, small or big, and big brands already doing it.
So maybe we take steps from, hey, I'm willing to spend anything as long as my tacos is blank and my ACoS is blank. I would say that's an incredibly popular goal for people to have, which is so how do we go from that, which I feel like is very common, to being able to have a plan to go forward, right? When we say forecasting, I feel like another word for it is plan. Like if we were to set this plan in action, we could potentially get to point A if these factors come through. So like, let's talk about a forecast plan and like, what are the inputs and what are the outputs? Like what goes into making a forecast? And, a lot of times it's more than just that one particular brand. You have to go outside and look at the actual market, right?
Right. So, okay, that is where we have to go to the basics and understand where we are. That's the first step, where we are standing at the moment, right? So when we are looking at where we are standing, there are few things that you have to consider. One is your market share. And where you are standing in the category that you are selling. Like, are you number 2, number 1, number 3? What is your market share of the market? Now, the question will be that, how should I define what that market share is for my product? There are a few ways you could check this from Amazon. One of the ways that could help you is from product opportunity explorer. Actually, if I can, I'll share my screen just for one example here.
Let's do it.
On how, for anyone who's not watching the video, from the product opportunity explorer, what we do is that Amazon, for any niche, when you search, Amazon is going to show you the products in that niche, number of the clicks, the brand name. And what we do, we export this, we take it to Google Sheet, we make a pivot table, and in brand level, you could do that in ASIN level as well. In brand level, we calculate what is the click share of that specific brand, right? In this case, there's an example. Let's say we are looking at this brand, which is Sleeve Stars. The click share is 4.67%, right? Now, one thing that you have to consider, this is a click share, it's not a market share. So this could be one way of kind of directional way for you to understand where you are standing in the market. It's not accurate because it's click share. That is one way. The second, there are tools like Cobalt, Helium 10, Market 360. They give you the market share, what is your share, but they are also estimate. So there are few ways you could understand what your market share is. Or you could only use Helium 10, X-ray, extract all the ASINs, calculate the revenue, and from there, see how much you're selling compared to the competitor. So this is the first step. What is where I am standing, which is your market share. I see many of the brands, they talk about sales, and when they talk about the forecast, they say, I sold 1 million, let's say, this year. Next year, I want to sell 1.2, which is I think the misleading way that you could take this direction. It is not right, because what if from you are saying I want 20% increasing my revenue, right, from 1 to 1.2, but what if the market grows with 30%? So in reality, you should go to 1.3, but since you have a goal of 1.2 and you want to achieve that, every calculation that you do is going to be wrong and you will be behind the market. That is why I always say, we would love to look at forecasting as a market share. If you are a brand that it's like you can calculate this market share. So that's the first step. Mike, if you have any questions so far.
Yeah, I want to tease out a little bit more that concept of you forecast in relation to what the overall market is doing. Is the market growing?
Right.
Is it expected to grow 50% this year? If so, you better properly identify, like, at least to stick with your current market share, you need to spend 50% more of what you were spending, right? So, and then in addition, is it going to get more competitive? So not only that, but you might also anticipate CPC rises. You might also anticipate potentially conversion rate changes as more competition comes into play. So I think that's the first component. And we sort of had a stepbrothers moment when we were planning this episode. It's like, name the Amazon tool that you can use to get a sense of market share. And it was like, okay, on the count of three, say it, 1, 2, 3, Product Opportunity Explorer, because that's exactly what that tool helps with. You type in a product, it gives you a niche. You type in a keyword, it gives you a niche. And what it does, it creates a sort of market, this like mini market, this niche as it calls it. And it sort of lists out the products that have the overall click share. And you can get a pulse on click share. And you can begin to make predictions. If our click share were to increase or decrease or stay the same, we would have, and then click share of what? Well, it's how many things were searched related in this particular market. So then you can also make predictions like, are the search term volumes, are the amount of people searching for this stuff increasing? If they are increasing, 10%, and I have a consistent click share, well, then I would anticipate my overall clicks will go up 10%. Hence, I need to spend 10% more to continue to capture that information. So right. This is the overall concept to sort of get a pulse of what are the searches related to my market doing? What is my click share historically, and what can I predict that click share to be? And from those numbers, you can begin to walk away with sort of like red, yellow, green type scenarios, like best case scenario, mid case scenario, worst case scenario. In a worst case scenario, the market shrinks, your click share goes down, your conversion rate goes down. Best case scenario, industry increases, you increase your share of those searches and your conversion rate goes up. So it's like, that's sort of like the funnel of thinking about forecasting to give people an overall framework of sort of where this lives.
Right. And actually, I'll give you another example. I wanted to show different ways you could look at it. In category insight, let me share my screen again. So we know that category insights now shows you the unit sold in the market in any category. Now, if you are in a category that category insights shows your specific product, because there are some categories that when you look at it, there are different type of products. So you can't base anything on that. But if you go to the category insight and if it's related, there is Amazon recently added units sold in the market. Now, what I'm sharing on the screen is that this is for ankle brace subcategory. I take that chart, bring it to the table. So I divide this month over month, how many units were sold in the market. So I have this for the whole market. I put in another column, I put my brand's units sold. How many units my brand sold. So now dividing my brand by the whole category, this is going to give you exactly market share that you need without any third-party tools. This is coming from Amazon. There might be some differences. It depends how Amazon is reporting that unit sold. But this is the most accurate way that I have found. You could find your exact market share. Now, The only thing that you have to consider is that this category that you are extracting the units, so it should be very close to your product. It shouldn't be a very broad category that there are different type of products. Then this could be very you can't really relate that to your market share.
And just to highlight what it is that the category insights allows you to do. So like there's a chart here of units sold over time, and that's per category. So like you picked your category and it shows you units sold over that time frame. And then what's really cool is that you map out each month, you map out what the category did from the category insight tool, and then you put your brand amount of orders. And then what you will see is your brand's orders versus the category's orders, giving you first party right inside Amazon. You have to calculate this metric by dividing these two things, but it gives you market share, which is really unique because people calculate market share, different tools calculate market share in lots of different ways. But if you just want to know how many orders did I get versus the category total and what's that percentage, this gives it to you right inside Amazon. So the category insights tool, epic. And this is different than what we just talked about, which was looking at the searches for a group of keywords and then looking at the click share of those certain keywords. So it's all sort of giving you different data points on where do I sit in the overall market and what is the trend of that.
Exactly.
So I love this.
That's why like we are showing different ways, right? We want to show that there are different ways that you can calculate them. Some of them more accurate if you have access to them, right? Correct access to them.
Yep.
Some of them are directional. Now, Michael, this was very interesting here for this brand that I just mentioned. I have calculated here the market share early 2023 on January 2023 was 4.55. It went down. It had a drastic drop until getting to the end of the year at 3.10% market share. So this brand lost 1% market share.
Yeah.
Now I want to tell you how the data and understanding where you are standing, why it is important is that the first question for me was that why this brand lost 1% market share? What they did that they lost market share? So next year, we know that we don't make that mistake. I did some calculation. I don't have it here, but I put the spend in this. Where is it? So I put the spend here in the same columns that we have for our calculation of market share. Okay. So we have the spend for the brand. I divided the spend by total units sold in the market. So I'm gauging myself that how much I'm spending with the fluctuation of the market per unit. What is my spend per unit sold of the market? Now you can see here that when we lost our market share, this spend per market unit sold went down. It means this brand didn't align the spending with the fluctuation of the market. Then the sales were going up in the market. The brand didn't increase their spend. They decreased their spend. As a result, they started losing market share. Hopefully it was clear, but it was very interesting to analyze and see when we are talking about where we are standing right now, to see what is happening, where your brand is, what's going on, and what are the learnings that you need to understand for the next year.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't get stuck in a negative feedback loop where
Exactly.
You dip a little bit, so you spend less, and you dip a little more, and you spend less and less and less. Significant. So Mansour, I think that the action items for people to take when thinking of their market share, I like to think of it in a couple different ways. One is like share of clicks, like how many total searches take place from my keywords for my product. If I have a particular click-through rate of those searches, what will I walk away with? How many clicks will I have? What is my conversion rate? So I think that's a really powerful tool, and right inside Product Opportunity Explorer. Second thing here is the category insights, which I also think is incredibly valuable. And And then with both of those things, I try to do, best case, worst case, and that gives us an idea of what we should be spending. And I think that's really valuable.
Yes, well, we didn't get time to get really into the details, but just to, if you want to wrap it up, just to explain what the next steps are. So from here, what we do, there are two ways that we do the forecasting. One, if we have enough data from the past history of the brand, let's say 2-3 years at least, we use that to understand what's going to happen in next year. That's the first step. If we don't enough data, or if you were out of the stock, something happened that you can't rely in past year's data, we use category insight, or as you mentioned, product opportunity explorer, to say, let's say next year we have 15% growth. So that 15% growth is going to show you how much you have to spend just to align with the market, right? That is all it is giving you. That if you want to align with the market and keep the same market share that you have, this is how much you have to spend. Your spend plus that growth. Now, the question mostly we are being asked for the brand is that we want to achieve this market share or this revenue goal. Now, here is where the forecasting for us comes at. This is the goal. We can achieve 90% of that with only the growth that we are having. Now, for that 10%, we calculate based on our ways that we say, okay, that 10% sales, all of them is going to be generated from advertising. That's the worst scenario case. We don't know. We can't influence the organic sales, all of that, because the market is growing, but we want to grow on top of that, 10% on top of that. That 10% is going to be advertising. We don't know. Maybe if you push, your organic sales can grow as well, but that is something out of our control. We attribute that 10% to advertising sales and distribute that over months. So we know what revenue we have to generate each month, what the spend should be each month. We have these thresholds, and based on that, month over month, we are tracking to make sure we are achieving our goal. I think we could have another full session just going into detail of how to do this. Hopefully next time.
I think this cues people up in terms of understanding that what to decide to spend next quarter or next month doesn't necessarily need to be as simple as I would spend unlimited amounts with a cost under 30%. Like in some ways we can sort of grow from that idea, and it could become, like, to use language that you'd want to use to get to this point. It's like, okay, I know my category performance. I know my brand share in the category that I'm playing in. It was 4%. If I'm going to push it to 5%, I'm going to need to spend, conversely more. Like, what's the percent change from 4% of the market to 5% of the market? That's a 25% increase. So like, that it's likely going to take a 25% increase in spend to get 25% increase in sales in order to make those moves. So like what we just did, like what I just said, isn't going to take a ton of work, right? Like this can be done potentially on a retroactive monthly basis, where it's like that month is complete. I can go into category insights and take a peek. How much did I spend? What was my brand share? What was my ACOS with sales on that? And then you can begin to say, if I wanted to increase from a 4% brand share to a 5% brand share, I need to get so much more revenue out of my ads. Hence, what do I need to spend in order to get there? So like, I think one of the best things any brand can do is literally have someone on their team and just ask the question, what can we do to increase brand share? And from there, the ideas start flowing, where they'll begin to start to ask questions like, well, maybe if we boost our efficiency and we get more ad revenue from the same amount of spend, is that possible? What do we have to do there? Or do we need to boost our ad spend in order to get more sales, and potentially we take a hit in ACOS this particular quarter in order to get there? So I that's my hope for this episode, that people just sort of play with these two tools, begin to see where they stand in the market, and begin to make better predictions when it comes to what our budgets should be and what we can expect from them. So I think we empower people to do that.
Yes, great.
I'm all about empowering. Mansour, from Incrementum Digital. Where can people get in touch with you if they wanted to follow up some questions about forecasting?
LinkedIn is the best place that you could connect with me, and I'm very active there. I post not on a daily basis, but I post most often. So yeah, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you have any questions, reach out, send me a message.
Thank you so much, Mansour. Have a good one. And everyone else, I'll see you next week here on the PPC Den podcast.